Hello and welcome to BusyWorksBeats.com. I ran out of oxygen there. I need you to smash the like button. We're on part 3 of how to make beats for beginners. Now, the reason I'm making this series is because, again, my story was I was going to learn how to code something, and I looked up a tutorial on YouTube. It says coding whatever for beginners. I go to the video, and they start off in the middle of like their program and didn't explain how they got there or anything. So I'm going to give you a better guide, a step-by-step guide on how to make beats. Now, part 3, the reason it took 3 parts to get here to the beat making part is because what happens in beat making, a lot of people try to make beats with the wrong stuff. You know, if I try to make a Chick-fil-A sandwich and I use peanut butter and jelly, the odds of me getting to a Chick-fil-A sandwich are half impossible. And that's what people are trying to do when it comes to beat making. They're trying to make certain types of beats with the wrong sounds. So I'm going to guide you step by step in this video on how to make your first sample beat. You will be able to download the project files for free, so don't worry if you get lost along the way. And you'll see the importance of having your own sounds as opposed to the stock sounds. Once you have your own sounds, you know, it's a lot easier to make hip hop beats. So the first thing is understanding FL. So I'm not going to go through everything about FL because you don't need to know it to make beats. You just don't. I've been teaching this stuff for a long time. There's a lot of stuff in FL. You don't have to use everything in FL. Okay. That's step number 1. Now, if you ever get lost, look for these buttons up here. There's about 5 buttons, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 buttons. So if you kind of lose a screen, just double click and you'll find the screen that you lost. Okay. Those are really important for navigating and getting around. So these are your 5 buttons that you just want to resort to at all times. All right. So the first button we're going to click is the browser button because we need to find our sounds. Now, the question is, how do you get sounds into FL Studio? That's probably your next question. We're going to go to options, go to, I think it's file settings. And then here we have to import a folder. So wherever your sounds are, I recommend you just have one big folder of all your sounds. Don't spread them apart and keep it complicated. Put all your sounds in one folder unless you have to separate them. Okay. So what I have is a folder on my hard drive. So if you click the folder icon, it will open up like this. I have a hard drive, and on my hard drive, all my sounds are in the sounds folder, and then I have a folder called friends sounds, okay? And that's the folder. And then you just hit open, and it will add that folder to the list, okay? Right here. Now, by default, it will give, okay, so if you open up the browser, which is this icon, and then hit the refresh or reread button, you'll see your folder with the little plus button. That means you added it to okay? And it'll have the name of whatever the folder is named. So mine's called Friends Sounds. This one says Friends Sounds. You could rename it if you wanted to for like aesthetics, like you could call this BusyWorks Beats.com or something like that. If you're doing videos or you want to like not change the actual folder, but you want it to aesthetically look a certain way, you could just hit refresh and it will name all that. It will rename it to BusyWorksBeats.com. But if you don't double click on the browser name to change it, it will just have the default name. So that's how you bring in sounds that are in folders on your computer into FL Studio. Now, how do you access the sounds? You go to your browser, which is this little button with the folder. And then you find your folder of choice. Now, make sure you're on the left side too. At the top, it's a lot to say. We are in FL Studio 20. So at the top here on the left side, that says all. Okay, we're going to click that button, and then we're going to find our folder called Friends Sounds. So now that you found your sounds, whatever sound you're looking for, whatever sample you're looking for, I'm going to go into my 7-Foot G folder because he's a good guitar player who's been working with us over time to make really dope guitar loops. So for example, I'll give you guys a trap soul loop from one of the packs here. And let's just click on something that we like. Then I'll show you how to chop it and kind of rearrange it. Okay, let's grab this one. I like that one. So just drag it in. Don't worry about the BPM and all this type of stuff. If you don't know what these numbers mean and these letters mean, don't worry about that. Usually most loops come with a number on them. So if you're getting stuff from whatever your favorite producer is, their pack, their loop pack. Or for example, we have a bunch of free loops in our new Discord. So just go to busyworksbeats.com/Discord because we have people in the actual community making crazy loops that actually sound extremely good. and I compiled all the good ones and put them into a pack called the Discord Community Loop Pack. So you can go to busyworksbeats.com/Discord to join us. There's currently over 8,000 producers in there. We're basically building a producer city, and it's going to be super dope when we all get in there. You can live stream in there. We're going to have expert panels coming through, introduce you guys to some of my friends, et cetera, et cetera. A lot going on in there. So most loops are labeled with the BPM and the key. You don't need to know what that means. You really don't. Just go to song mode up here and hit spacebar. And now we're gonna count. It's very important you count your music before you chop. Most people, they chop their music before they count and wonder why their stuff sounds so offbeat. So with sampling specifically, you have to count the music. And I know you've seen those other tutorials on YouTube that leave out all these steps, and that's why you're still confused watching this video. Because the other people don't show you the steps that you need to know. They kind of skip over a bunch of stuff. So for example, we count the music. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 4. So in Western music, most of the time we count to 4. You don't need to know the whole tech reason behind that. It's called 4/4 timing if you want to know. If you're a geek like me and you want to know, it's called 4/4 timing. That means every time we count to 4, it's considered 1 bar. And 4 bars every time we count a beat, it's the metronome. It's 1, 2, 3. It's like a heartbeat. So every time 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2. Okay, so every time I count, that's called a beat. And then every time I count to 4, that's considered 1 bar. So the 4/4 means how many beats does it take to get to a bar. So if it was 3/4 timing, it would only take 3 beats to get to that bar. So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then it repeats. So we do that 4 times and then it repeats. You don't need to know the back end. You really don't. There's a lot of stuff in music theory and all this that confuses people more than it helps. Just know that we're counting to 4. Okay, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 2. And the reason I'm saying 2 is because I know that we're on the next thing. It's kind of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 20, 1, 2, 3. You know, it's the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Now we're 8 and 1, 2. Now here it got a little tricky because he switched up his rhythm. Okay, so this is where we have to pay attention because it just completely changes. So if you have trouble counting your music, remember music counting comes first before the metronome. So turn this button off if you have this on. Turn the metronome off. That's confusing you when you're sampling. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, you'll get the project file, so you don't have to memorize all this, but just showing you how to do it. 1, 2, 3. And I'm hitting spacebar. See, I almost left that out. I'm hitting spacebar. And remember, I'm on song mode. I like to sample in what's called the playlist. If you don't see this, you click this button right here. And again, if you don't see the browser, you click the browser button and drag your audio directly into the playlist. 2, 2, 3. So now we need to count. 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, and so now I'm going to make a vertical chop. Just hit Shift Alt, grab your slice tool, Shift Alt, left click, and slice right at the beginning of that next sound. Okay, so that's considered one measurement. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2. We counted all the way to 4. Now let's start counting from the next sound. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, and now this one's tricky because it just randomly goes into a chord, and there is no what they call transient information, no pointy information to show me that something else is beginning. So in this one, you really have to listen in. I'll show you a way to get around that. Okay, so now we can right click with the pointer tool, the pencil tool, just right click to get rid of the excess. So now we're left with 2 main chops. Okay, so it's hit spacebar, 1, 2, 3. I'll show you a trick. Okay, so go top left, go to make unique as sample. You want to make unique as sample when you have multiple chops because you're not going to treat each chop the same way. So hit save. So this makes it completely different if I start messing with stuff than this one, because by default FL Studio, even though I made a chop, it doesn't mean they're 2 separate things. Okay, it just means visually they're 2 separate things. They're not 2 separate things. So you have to go to the top left icon, go to make unique as sample, and it will save just what it sees here as its own thing. We can get deeper into sampling and all that. It's a lot to go through. I'm just showing you how to make your first sample beat. So let's go here to the top left. Let's go to channel settings, and a quick way to time stretch is go to mode, stretch mode, so that it keeps its original pitch and tone. And then we're going to go to the time knob here and left click and drag this. In the top left, you can read the value. It'll say like 4. Right now it says 5. You see in the top left, 3. This is the bar count. So whatever that first number is, that's the bar count. So we're going to match this up to 4 bars, because remember when we were counting, we counted to 4s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's how we count it. So now I can turn on the metronome. Now that I've time stretched it, you can hit the metronome just to triple check. 1, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, and now in Ableton they automatically do this. That's why I said some DAWs have different advantages over others. So now I mentioned this part right here. It's tricky because it doesn't end on a clear spot. So here I'll show you how to do it. This is more intermediate. But if you grab your pencil and hit Alt and left clicking allows you to micro nudge stuff around the grid. So we're just left click, hit Alt and left click, and you'll make it easy. Okay, so now we're gonna grab the very beginning of the sound. We're gonna go to the top left, go to channel settings, go to mode, stretch mode, and we're going to set the time now to match 4 bars, just like before. In this case, it's reading a different saying. Oh, you know what? Because we didn't make it unique as a sample. So let's go back. Control Alt Z. Okay. Make unique as a sample first. And because it shouldn't be reading 16 bars. Okay, let's go to top left. Anyway, go to mode, stretch mode. Go to time now. So now it reads the right amount. It says 4 bars in the top left, if you notice the difference. 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, and so that's going to be the hardest thing, is just in sampling, is finding when the music actually goes to the next downbeat. That's why I taught you to count music before you just visually look at a grid. The grid doesn't know how the guitar player played a little bit off. You know, they don't know that. The grid has no idea about that. Okay, so that's how you time stretch. And now I'm going to show you how to take these kind of loop guitars and make it your own. So if you time stretch the right way, your metronome should match up with the music. Okay, so I'm going to hit Control, left click and drag, then hit Shift. Very important to hit Shift and left click and drag. Most people tell you to hit Control B to paste. That's not regular paste. It's called latch paste. And if your stuff isn't perfectly lined up to the grid, you can end up pasting off time, and then your beat will sound off and everything will just be a mess. So Control B is not a good habit, in my opinion, unless you know what you're doing. We're going to go to the top left to this magnet, hit bar mode, because everything is just easier, in my opinion, on bar counts. And then if you have to get granular, you could do that. Let's close the browser for now, this icon. Okay, so on the second half, I want to change it up a little bit. So let's kind of remix it. I'll show you a quick way to remix it. Grab your snap to grid. Let's go to 1 measure down, which is a beat. Grab your slice tool. And then now we're going to figure out where we want the beat to change up. So you could think like a DJ. So let's say I want a change up right here. Let's just create a little slice. So I just sliced out that one section, and then grab this tool called a slip tool, this little double arrow, and left click the in between, and you can pull the audio from anywhere in the audio to that specific point. And as long as you don't hit Alt, it will lock into the grid. So that I can have it stutter and do different things, or add little textures. It doesn't have to be audible. So now I can make little change ups like that one. So I'll do it right here as well. Again, you have to do, if you're not getting vertical shifts, vertical cuts, hit Shift and left click, it will do a vertical slice. It's a lot easier to do vertical slices. If you just slice, sometimes you'll slice crossways and different things. So hit Shift to do a vertical slice. Okay, so I sliced out that small amount, grab that slip tool, left click, and just pick whatever, you just drag the audio around to find whatever you want to fill in that spot. I don't like that double hit, so let's find something else. I like that. Okay, then we can leave the second half alone. Okay, now we need drums. Okay, so now we're gonna go to a separate section. The playlist is, I've found, the easiest way to sample. Always make it a habit to hit Control S or Control N to save as a new version. That way, if something, you wanna go back to an older version, you can always do that. So I hit Control N a lot. Make that your habit, because sometimes FL will just crash and close. It's just how it is. Let's go to the channel rack. And now we're going to go to this little black icon and go to all. And now we can start importing drum sounds into what's called a channel rack. So let's open up the browser, and we need to find decent sounds that match this vibe. So now I'm gonna go to my friends folder. Actually, let's go to maybe dark drums. Actually, no, I know what we're gonna do. Let's go to friends. We have an essentials folder. Let me find out where the heck I even put it. Here it is. Okay, so we're gonna right click. This is a good habit in my opinion, is to right click and open in new channel. What that will do is import the sound and make sure it doesn't overlap anything. A lot of people teach you to just drag sounds in, but what can happen is you can't, if I accidentally drag an 808 over a clap, there's no way to Control Z. So you forever lost your sound, and that's super unfortunate if that happens to you and you don't remember where you got the sound from. So it's a good habit in my opinion to right click and open a new channel. That way you don't accidentally overlap stuff. Okay. Let's grab a hi-hat. Again, having the right sounds is half the battle. That's really all it is having the right sounds. Okay, so now we have a kick, we have a clap and a hi-hat. Here's the clap. I'm hitting the comma button on my QWERTY typing keyboards to hear it, which is middle C. That's my hi-hat, and then that's the kick. So how do we add this thing into this thing? So we go to the playlist view, which is this icon over here. We can close out the browser and then click on the left side and you'll see patterns. Remember, we're in FL Studio 20. Okay, you can left click and drag in a pattern. So now we can hear whatever we do in this little section here, we'll be able to hear it in the whole entirety of the song. So I recommend you keep the metronome on, which is this thing, when you're making your drums, because a lot of folks who are just beginning, they don't understand the rhythms yet, and you start making these weird rhythms. Okay, so keep that metronome on because you'll understand a little bit more. Now, let's go back to the channel rack, which is this icon here. Highlight all your drum sounds and hit Control L. That will send them automatically to the mixer. And you can do the same thing for your audio. Hit Control L. That'll automatically name it and send it to what's called the mixer. The mixer is this icon here. And this just accounts for all the sounds making sound. And you can edit each individual sound as opposed to edit everything at once. So again, you'll get the project file, so you don't have to memorize this stuff. Okay, so now we're on pattern 1, remember? And let's say I want to go to the channel rack here, and we're gonna add we're on 140 BPM. So long story short, there's 2 ways to make hip hop beats. It's double time and then regular time. So right now we're in double time, which means we're double the BPM. And basically to make this feel slow, we have to space our drums out a little differently. So every time the metronome hits, we're gonna count. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the snares and the claps hit on the 3 and the 7 at this BPM. Once you go above 120, you're pretty much at double time. 120 BPM is this number here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if you have trouble, just use the metronome and count 3 and 7. So the hi-hats are easy. You could just right click, fill each 2 steps. Super easy. Now we're gonna add our kick drum. Now here, you're probably gonna have issues because you don't know all the rhythms yet. We do have a course called Beat Magic, which is now in our black box bundle, which has literally every course we've ever offered. busyworksbeats.com/blackbox. It's a holiday limited run, but Beat Magic is our course specifically on how to make beats like the pros. Now let's add in our kicks. So you just got to get used to these rhythms. Boom, boom, clap. That's a very common rhythm. Also boom, boom, clap, boom. And you'll notice the brum, 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 it follows the kick. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so you're just following the guitar in this case. Turn the metronome off. Okay, so now we need bass, and most people when they get to the bass, they usually use 808s. It's not all the time, but they usually use 808s. So I'm just gonna give you an 808 you can use in this project. Right click, open a new channel, hit Control L when you load up new sounds. It's gonna send it to the mixer. Also on my master, if in the mixer, click that button, click over to where it says master. On slot 1, let's load up what's called Fruity Soft Clipper. And I'm just gonna turn the threshold to the right. That prevents it from clipping, which you don't need to know what that means right now. Okay, let's go to pattern 2, left click, drag that up. And again, once you have the pattern selected, you could just left click in and it will lock it in. Again, change your snap to grid to a bar mode. It's easier to look at the screen, in my opinion. And now we're gonna go back to pattern 2. And I say with 808, start with a rhythm first, then give it notes later. Okay, so if you don't hear the rest of the notes, you're like, I played more notes, but it's not there. Go to your pencil tool, grab the edge and just drag it out. Remember, we're only doing the pattern of the 808. Okay, now let's add some notes to the 808. Let's go right click, piano roll. If you have trouble like I do hearing the notes of the 808, hit Control up to pull them up 1 octave. Now, most people struggle with the tuning of 808s. That's something that I can't teach you in a 5-minute thing. Okay, but you can tell when it's right. So pull it up in a higher octave so you can really hear. Hitting Control up. So dun, 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 something like that. Dun, dun, dun. So the way I move these notes is I hit Control to highlight them, and I hit Shift up and Shift down to move the notes up and down. I like to keep my snap to grid on 1/2 beat. That's just where I keep it in the piano roll. It's just a lot easier for me to see. So this kind of song is more musical, so the 808 moves around a lot. Some hip hop songs, you don't need the 808 to have different notes every single time. I hit Control down twice to pull it back down. I'm hitting space bar. Okay, let's go back to the playlist. Okay, so at this point, it's just a matter of mixing. So I'm gonna hit Control to highlight these, and since they're perfectly chopped, we're gonna hit Control B to latch paste. Hit spacebar. So now at this point, we're gonna go to the mixer. So we're really done our first sample beat. Go to your mixer now, and I recommend hitting Control, left click and highlight all these sounds and just pull everything down. Because the biggest mistake you guys make is having your sounds way too loud. Now from here, then you can start turning stuff up. So the clap needs to be loud. Kick needs to be loud. Guitar needs to be pretty loud. So what's cool about FL, you can right click and copy values. So you can right click, copy the value. So let's say I move, since remember our sample is in 3 different parts, you can right click, copy the value, right click, hit V or hit paste value, and it will paste the fader value. So you don't have to like, or you could just hit Control and move all these at once. And I'll show you how to group sounds. Not that we're gonna get too deep into mixing. Let's turn up the 808. Also, there's a plugin that's free I forgot to tell you guys about. It's called Saturation Knob. I'm gonna throw it on the 808. There are FL plugins that give you saturation, but they don't give you the same sound. So I'm gonna throw that on, but you could download it from SoftTube. It's a free plugin. Now the 808's a little heavy. Okay, so I'm gonna do one more thing here, which is to go to a blank mixer insert, right click and call this like guitars. And then what I'll do is I'll hit Alt left, hit Control to highlight all the guitars, right click on the bottom arrow and route to this track only. So now all the guitars will go to this one track. And here's where I'm gonna add all the sound effects. So we'll just use stock stuff for now. We don't need to get crazy. Let's do Fruity Delay 3. And I'll do all the settings so you don't need to memorize this, but it's ping pong mode. Turn the wet level down. And again, mixing will make this sound more tight and polished. This video is not going to go in that much depth because then I'll really lose you. Just need to tame sounds right now. So here's a little thing you could do if your beat sounds too robotic. Go to your hi-hats, go to the wrench tool, and go to this where it says time shift. Turn that up just a little bit. It just delays the hi-hats just a little bit. You can do the same thing with your kick and your claps. So now I'm going to edit these guitars. Again, you don't have to do this work. I'm doing it for you. There's another free plugin called TDR Nova that you can use. Where's it at? TDR Nova. It's a free plugin. I'll do all the edits. Again, this is beyond the scope of the video. You don't have to do what I'm doing here on this step. Okay, so I was just editing the guitar so that it doesn't clash so much with the bass because it was very bass heavy in the guitar. Okay, so I just did a couple polishing things, nothing crazy. Okay, now you have a beat that you could sing over, rap over. Okay, so let's keep it simple like that. And you'll get the project files for free. And thank you for watching this entire video. I need you to smash the like button to give me some feedback to let me know you like these videos in this series. And then I'll continue the series. So thank you for watching. It's Game from BusyWorksBeats.com. To get these project files, just go to BusyWorksBeats.com/FL Studio. I'll leave a link below. Peace. Oh, subscribe if you haven't as well. Peace.